All right, this primary day is a very important time for voters in New York State, and we wanted to take a look at a particular segment of that voting populace. So, women voters by the numbers. First slide up here, I can let you know that women versus men over the last two elections. In 2008, among voters aged 18 to 24, those young people, there were some 6.7 million women who turned out to vote compared to 5.8 million men. Looking more at that trend, 10 million more women voted than men across the nation in 2008. Fast forward to the 2012 race, and among voters aged 25 to 44, some 60.5 million women voted, besting the men who showed up at the rate of about 53.9 million voters. In 2012, exit polls suggested that 53% of voters were in fact women. So women really did determine the outcome of that last election. Moving forward, I'm going to let you know the gender gap in voting. Well, since 1980, there's been a gender gap with a greater population of women than men preferring the Democrats in each case. In 2012, women favored Barack Obama by some 10% over his opponent Mitt Romney, and the gender gap widened considerably with Latinos, African Americans, and whites. Women run and women show up. That's what we're seeing. Maybe it's the Hillary effect, but when the woman's on the ballot, women tend to show up in greater numbers. Gonna dig down a little bit further and let you know about a little bit of the issues that are happening. Of course, in 2016, women's reproductive rights continue to make news. Both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side are pro-choice and support continued funding for Planned Parenthood. They are also both supporting repealing the Hyde Amendment, which was a 1976 proposal put forward by a congressman from my home state of Illinois, Henry Hyde, who said that women should not have abortions paid for by federal funding unless there is incest, rape, or in the case where the mother's life might be in jeopardy. And both Hillary and Bernie would like to repeal that amendment that's been on the books for over 30 years. So that's a look at women by the numbers. So we're getting into the A block.
We'll be speaking with a Hillary Clinton supporter in a few minutes, but first, we want to welcome our Bernie Sanders supporter, a young woman who in 2014 also worked on Zephyr Teachout's campaign for governor. Moumita Ahmed is the national organizer for Millennials for Bernie and the national Grassroots coordinator for People for Bernie. And welcome to PK Live. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, pleasure is all ours. For the people who has not made it out to the polls yet, and everyone out in TV land that's sort of watching right now, as a woman, can you tell us, what is it about the Sanders campaign that resonates with you?
Many things. I really like that Bernie Sanders is talking about, access to free education. Most women are in college. More women are in college than men. So most of us have student debt. More women have student debt than men. He's talking about climate justice, and a lot of indigenous women and women are at the forefront of that. So, and he's talking about more of achieving a more sustainable planet, which really appeals to me. And he's talking about raising the minimum wage. And as somebody who graduated recently, I'm in debt. It's hard for me to find affordable housing, and I feel like Bernie Sanders' policies, his heart is in the right place. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we just had a whole list of numbers about women showing up to vote. But I wondered specifically from you, what are women's issues as they relate to this year's election?
I think women's issues are economic issues. Currently, right now, women are struggling in terms of making ends meet. We have 72% of women are working low-wage jobs. And like I said, many of us are in are in college or have graduated and have massive amount of student debt. And, our reproductive rights are under attack. So, and these are really issues that resonate with women, and income inequality, closing the wage gap is, that's something I care about, and I think a lot of women care about, because we have a ton of single mothers and young mothers, and they're struggling to make ends meet. Oftentimes these women were stuck with, domestic maintenance. so more often than men. So it's really important for us to be like economically stable. And currently with our current economy, it's very difficult.
So we saw that when women run, women tend to show up more. So the women are going to make the decision in this year's election, presumably. So with that being said, how does Bernie differentiate himself from Hillary on issues that go to the heart of women's voters' concerns? We saw they both were pro-choice and would both repeal that Hyde Act.
Both for Planned Parenthood.
What are the differences between the two as you see them?
Right. So I think Hillary Clinton is great in terms of like social issues, and so is Bernie. They're both like have a pretty solid platform when it comes to reproductive rights. I think, though, that Bernie has a better economic plan where he is really asking people to engage in politics and help get a $15 minimum wage nationwide, not just in New York, not just in California, but across the nation. And then he's talking about, student debt, which is not something she's really addressing, and I think that is really the core of it. We deserve free education, and that's really important for us as women in order for us to like move up and, find security in this economy. So,
well, we've talked about women's issues, but simply as a millennial as well. You said you just graduated, so congratulations.
Thanks.
But I think you maybe touched on it as well. But what are the primary concerns as a millennial?
Student debt and climate change. It's definitely something that we're hit with every day. Like, we see it in the news, and we can't ignore it any longer. And the fact that we live in a more globalized society, especially me, I'm an immigrant. I come from an immigrant family. So what's happening in Flint, Michigan, what's happening, down south, the injustice like that, our children are being poisoned by lead because, we cannot regulate these corporations. Like, these are real issues. And, like I said, like most young women have kids and children, they have families to worry about. So they worry about health care. Also, college grads oftentimes don't have adequate health care. And so we really need universal health care. Most women are prone to poverty, mental illness.
What inspired you to become an organizer?
Just seeing injustice, like seeing that bankers and lobbyists and like corrupt politicians who poison our water, who destroy our economy, and they don't end up in jail, but my neighbors and my friends are going to jail because of carrying marijuana, and it's just like the disproportionate level of like punishment and based on where you are economically. It's just like, it's really upsetting. And also personally, I've been affected by that kind of just disproportionate way of punishing people based on their economic status as an immigrant family, coming from an immigrant family. I just think that's not why my parents came here. Like, they were looking for more opportunities, and we don't have that anymore.
So, Moumita, we have literally 1 minute, so I'm going to ask you to do a public service. There's been a lot of talk about folks who are supporting Bernie or Hillary, and if one doesn't win that nomination, they're going to sit home on Election Day come November.
Oh, no.
So talk some sense into people from Team Byrne, if in the unlikely event, in your opinion, that he doesn't become the nominee,
right,
that they should still do a civic duty in November and still show up at the polls?
Yeah, definitely show up at the polls. You can write in if you don't want to vote for a candidate. But definitely show up and exercise your right, because people have died to, give us this opportunity to vote. Yeah.
Well, we thank you for your
so
support
much.
and for taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.